Good morning and welcome to the first training session of Partners in Policymaking of Alabama. Any opportunity for citizens to learn more about our legal process is a great one. And Partners in Policymaking helps to create legislative advocates at all levels of government in our state. And I'd like to thank all who are here to demonstrate their support for this project. Legislators, state agency leaders, PIPA graduates, and members of the 2021-2022 PIPA cohort. I'd especially like to thank the Alabama Developmental Disabilities Network partners for establishing and supporting this project for Alabamians. Partners in Policymaking focuses on helping individuals with developmental disabilities and their supporters to build positive personal relationships with policymakers and become partners in the policymaking process to change the system that supports, but may at times create limits on the lives of those with developmental disabilities. Partners in Policymaking was created in 1987 by the Minnesota Governor's Council on Developmental Disabilities, and by 2015 had trained over 27,000 graduates, 3,000 of whom are international participants. PIPA graduates are empowered catalysts for systems change and are prepared to work alongside policymakers to advocate at local, state, and federal levels. Thank you for attending, and I cannot wait to see what great things you will do to improve our state for individuals with developmental disabilities. May God continue to bless each of you and the great state of Alabama.
We're going to hear from them about their hopes for partners and maybe the roles that they can play and their vision for how you can help them become better policymakers for people with disabilities in Alabama. So, my fellow limit breakers, I'm going to start off, I'm just going to go in the order that we have listed on the agenda. So let's start off with young Boozer. Mr. Boozer, do you want to come on up and say a few words to the crowd? There you go.
Good afternoon. All right, good crowd. I'm young Boozer, and yes, that's my real name. I'm the treasurer of the state of Alabama again. The governor appointed me a month ago to fill the remainder of the term of John McMillan. So I'm back. And, but let me go back to when I was first treasurer, and that was in 2011. An important thing happened in December of 2014. And I see some heads nodding, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It was the passing of the ABLE Act. In December of 2014. And that started something in the Treasurer's office that we built on, and we continue today, and we will build into the future. And that is the ABLE Act. I was a member of the National Association of State Treasurers. We called a meeting in 2015 to say, this is a new opportunity for us. We were already operating college counts 529 type programs for saving for college. And when we saw what the bill was and what it called for, I said, hey, this looks just like ours. And so what we want to do is we want to get our people together around the country and develop a savings program for people with disabilities. So it was patterned upon the 529 account for college, but it was 529A, and over the next year and year and a half, we worked together across the country in order to design and build those programs. So I can't remember the exact date.
February of 16.
February of 16. So I've just acknowledged the lady who is running this whole thing, and this is Anita Kelly, and I'm preparing her because she's going to say a few words when I finish. You ready? Okay. So we opened up the account, and we are fully behind this, and it makes so much sense. We talked earlier about what the restrictions were before, and you could only save $2,000. I mean, that's nuts. That's a financial term. It's nuts, okay? So what we did was we developed this program so that it is the proper, excellent way for money to be saved for the benefit of the individual. And so that's what we are doing. The program is up and running. If you, how many people are involved in it right now? So we got a show of hands. The rest of you need to look into it because it is the way to save. And so what I'm going to do is call on Anita to say a few things about, she's running the program. She knows all the details. And should I take the...
All right, I'm pretty loud.
Yeah, no, come on up. Yeah. And so I'm going to let her tell you, and then she's going to close it out. But thank you for inviting us. We're all into this, and we're ready, willing, and able to provide you the service that you need to have. Anita.
Thank you. Well, thank you all. We do have some goodies in the back for everybody, so it gives you some more information on the ABLE program. So those of you that already have it, we give you some new information. I'm not sure if everybody knows, but we did have a program when we first started. It was in ABLE, Alabama. And so if any of y'all have that program, we have a new program now, just to confuse you just a little bit. But it's called the Alabama ABLE Savings Program. And with the new program, you actually can you have possible state tax deduction for all of your contributions. So if you already have one, make sure you get with me. I have my card and all the information in there. And if you don't, please contact me and let me tell you how this could help you. I think anybody that you could speak with in this room that has one will tell you how easy it is and what a wonderful product it is. So we appreciate everybody, and we are so glad to be a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. All right, coming up next, we have Mr. Gil Isbell. Yeah. I feel like Drew Carey. Come on down. There you go, sir.
I'm just glad to see that y'all are clapping for me since I'm a legislator. So thank you very much. It actually is a pleasure to be here. I actually have personal connection to what some of you go through, not all of you, but I had an aunt who I love dearly. She is now gone, but she got polio when she was 14 years old, right around 1940. And the stories I've heard, that what she's gone through the years, her parents had to send her to Minnesota for a couple years for an intense therapy program by a nun who came up with that. I can't recall her name. Sister Kenny. Thank you. And it was an intense 2-year program, but it was tough not only on her, but on her parents as well. So what they did, monthly, they would go up and visit her, but take either 1 or 2 friends. And it was from Alabama to Minnesota in those years, the roads weren't as good. There were no interstates, so it was a very tough thing, but they made it through it. And my Aunt Nett, she came back, and she actually went to Warm Springs, where FDR went through therapy as well. So I have that direct connection. Also, well, let me tell you one more thing about my aunt, because it really is funny. She became a teacher. She went to Converse College for 2 years with her sister, and then they went to the University of Alabama. I'm an Auburn guy, but that's okay. War Eagle, come on now. But what she did, she got a teaching degree, and she came back to Etowah County, Gadsden and Attala, and she taught for 35 years. And what I was telling somebody earlier, she had a great left arm with an eraser. Now, if you do that nowadays, you get in trouble. And the last eraser she threw, it missed her mark and hit somebody in the eye. Did not hurt them permanently, but she said, I'm going to have to stop throwing erasers. But anyway, she was a fireball and a wonderful woman. Now, also, I have a niece, and it's Linda Russo's daughter, that has spinal muscular atrophy. And I've been aware and had the personal involvement with her. Now, I lived out of town for a long time and out of the state for a long time, but through the years, you know, Frances Taylor's a wonderful young lady, and she's done the most to try to overcome what she has been dealt. She went to school at Samford, went to the University of Alabama Law School. She has worked in Washington, D.C., and for a lot of you folks, you understand what it's like, what you have to go through every day. It's a challenge, and I do understand that. Now, as a policymaker, I'm here for you guys to reach out to me, and I hope you understand that there's a special place in my heart for disability, folks with developmental disabilities or other disabilities. 2 other points here. Now, folks in the legislature, folks in Alabama, folks around the world, it comes down to, it's from attitudes, it's for perceptions, it's, you know, how people view individuals with developmental disabilities or other disabilities. And I hope that the only positive thing about social media, because I don't like it, it actually helps tell good stories about things and people that have helped or do good things that have developmental disabilities or other disabilities. But it's educating the public, educating people, communication, and also policies. That has a lot to do with, just like Mr. Boozer was talking about, doing different programs to help. And that's what we need as a legislature to do, to make laws that can assist folks that have needs. Now, there is an actual program in Gadsden, Alabama. It's called Beautiful Rainbow. There was a teacher, Chip Rowan, and what he ended up doing, he started getting his student, and he works with developmental disability students, and they would grow vegetables. Well, that has grown to where there is a restaurant in the Gadsden Public Library, and he has probably about 10 trainees or students that work there. They serve vegetables, and I was actually there for a dedication approximately a month ago, and the food was fantastic. It really was. But they've also have been able to hire a chef to continue to train these individuals. And what it does, it helps these individuals learn a trade. They are self-sustaining, and it is a positive thing instead of sitting at home and doing nothing. And it's good. It's not only good for them, it's good for us as the public, because we should care about our fellow humans. So I think that's extremely important. And also from an advocacy standpoint, I think that we need, as policymakers, or actually as the state, from the governor's office, Graham, we need to make people more aware. And I'm going to give one other example. I have a gentleman who is a quadriplegic in my area, and he called me and he said, "Gil, can we do a public service announcement or do something, because I have a van, and every time I pull in, people park on where the stripes are, and I can't open the door." So I'm going to work with the governor's office to try to figure out what is the best way to communicate that to the public, because a lot of folks around us just don't have a clue. So we need to help inform them what would be helpful to their fellow man. Now, in the end, what's the future of disability? And y'all are going to understand it much better than I do, but it's greater understanding, changing perceptions, bridging the gaps, and creating direct connections, whether it's to policymakers, to individuals, and just communicating the message that you are individuals that have a lot to offer, and that it's a positive thing, everybody working together to make a difference. So thank you very much, okay? All right. All right.
Thank you, sir. That was wonderful. All right, let me introduce our next policymaker with whom you all need to have a relationship, and that is Commissioner Boswell, Commissioner of the Department of Mental Health. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Nancy. I am so excited to be here today. I know for Daryl and the staff, it's been a long year trying to get here, and we've been talking about it for a little while. So I am very, very happy that we're here today, and I know that you guys are going to have a great opportunity to develop some skills that are really, really important to the state of Alabama, to what we do, especially in relation to working with policymakers. I guess it was really, I have to say a shout out to the Alabama Care Network, because as I became commissioner, I was appointed on December 15th, I think. Yeah. December 15th of 2020. The first request that I had for speaking engagement was the Alabama Care Network, and they were very kind to give me the questions ahead of time. So I was very glad about that, because then I could prepare. And one of the questions they asked was really about advocacy. And honestly, as I prepared for that speaking engagement, I began to look back over the last few years and think, you know, advocacy is really not where it used to be. So for those of you who don't know, 28 years ago, when I came to work for the Department of Mental Health, I worked for the DD Council. And Partners in Policymaking was a huge part of what we did. It was such an important part of policy and advocacy work. And so when the question was asked, I began to talk about how I don't see as many individuals and families advocating as we had 27 years ago. And I think you asked me the question, and I'm like, what happened to Partners in Policymaking? We need to have Partners in Policymaking again, because so many of those folks really were instrumental in developing services in the state. And so I had a conversation a little later with Daryl Because from my perspective, and Terry can attest to this, what we see a lot of now is a lot of our providers hire lobbyists to lobby for certain issues, and that's great, and there are differences in provider needs and individual and family needs. But back in the day, when I was engaged with the DD Council, families and individuals were at the State House advocating for the services that we really needed in Alabama. And so I'm very, very glad that we are to this day and that we're going to begin to do that work again in Alabama. I speak to you today really in loving memory of a couple of people that really influenced how I think about community integration. I call them the Ryans. Some of you may have known them, Ryan Colburn and Ryan Prince. Ryan Prince is the son of Betsy Prince. Some of you may know Betsy. And at the time, Betsy, shortly after Ryan was born, she was actually one of the very first executive directors of Policy and Partners in Policymaking. And Ryan was a little guy. And so the two Ryans were really some of the first kids to go into the early intervention programs. Both Susan Colburn, who's the mother of Ryan Colburn, and Betsy were told that really that their kids were not going to be able to make it. They really should be put into an institution. And obviously they didn't do that. And so they became really strong advocates for early intervention. Both Ryans were very successful in community integration. They were a part of my life. They were part of my family. And so really, that's the expectation that I have for everybody. And community integration, the relationships that were developed, and what I will say to you today, programs are great, but honestly, it's really all about relationships. I mean, the relationships that both Ryans had in the community, in my church, they were both involved in my church. We're still engaged with both families and all the other children in the family. And so those relationships are really, really critical. But you also have to have the relationships with the policymakers. We really need you guys. We need your voice. We need to hear what you have to say. Because that's a really, really important missing link to where we are today. And so I am just ecstatic that we are here today, and I just really look forward to seeing you around 100 North Union Street, the RSA building where I am, and at the State House where Gil is. So I hope y'all have an absolute wonderful time. I'm also very excited, and Terry's going to talk to you a little bit, and I have to brag a little on Terry. We're getting ready to stand up what you guys know is the new community waiver, the CWP, and I have no doubt Terry's going to talk about that. But the other part of that Terry worked really hard on that we don't talk about a lot is deconflicting case management and person-centered planning. Finally in the state, and Judy Barclay's not in the room, but for many, many years we have talked about true person-centered planning. And if we can get to true person-centered planning, then a lot of other things in the system will fall into place. Well, guess what, y'all? We're finally there. We have deconflicted case management. We have true person-centered planning, and a new waiver that I'm sure Terry's going to talk about that really does get at community integration and employment. One thing after 3 years, Terry, we've worked together? Three, almost to the day. Her level of advocacy and commitment to people is just absolutely phenomenal. I've never once doubted her commitment and her level of concern for individuals that are served under her program. And I just want y'all, do you mind if I introduce her? Yeah, she has done, it's been kind of unbelievable. We've been working on getting this new waiver stood up for 2 years now. We've been through some interesting times, and she has worked tirelessly, and I do mean tirelessly, for several months and over years now to get this new waiver up and running. So if y'all will, please give a loud round of applause for Terry Pezent. can cry. It's okay. But you have to speak into the microphone.
So, as most obvious, I have a great boss. And she has brought to our organization the leadership and lots of experience. I learn from her every time I hear her speak. And I really wasn't going to go into the community waiver a whole lot because I didn't want to steal the thunder of this awesome, exciting opportunity. Daryl and I, we had a similar meeting about partners in policy making when we first met and had our first little get together. And several years ago, I worked for the ARC of Alabama. We tried to have a conversation about bringing it up then. It just wasn't the right time. But guys, this is the right time, right fit. You're the right folks to get this, to develop those leadership skills that are really needed to influence policy, not only influence policy, but systems change altogether. I had the wonderful opportunity when we began the journey exploring the community waiver program, traveling around the state twice, 2 rounds of stakeholder meetings, and I met a lot of families. And we heard the same thing over and over about their needs, and their needs early. And before they got into a crisis situation, and we listened, I'm excited. But the waiver is this new community waiver program is this. And those of you who participated in those stakeholder engagement opportunities, your voice is what made that happen. It wasn't just me. It was you that helped push that work forward. And now we have a waiver that is addressing the wait list and is providing those services to you and your family when you need it, where you need it, and it's creating more. On the way over here, I was listening to some recordings of people who participated in policy in this endeavor in other states, and I heard the same thing over and over. It's, you're redefining. You're defining people not as a person with a disability, but as a person by allowing people to participate in this. Your leadership influences policy. It influences systems change. But I want to go back to what the commissioner said. There is nothing that can influence change more than engaging in your own communities. The example of the garden and stuff, that didn't get there. That didn't happen with waiver dollars. That happened with those relationships and building those inclusive communities for you and your family member to thrive and participate and be valued members of those communities and have the opportunity to give back in ways that should be expected. It's not always expected, but should be expected. So I congratulate Daryl and his partners, and I am so excited that you are offering this opportunity to empower individuals and families to have that voice. And lastly, know that if you are participating in this program, you are not just the voice for you and your family member. You are the voice for so many across Alabama who do not have an opportunity to participate in this leadership program. So just know that you have a purpose, and you are going to be serving a lot of people across our state who are going to benefit from your work. So thank you, Daryl, for inviting me, and just congratulations. So.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner and Associate Commissioner. Excited to hear from you. And we're going to bring up none other than Graham. He's been in my corner since I've been here, and I've called on him, and he's called me, so I'm going to let him have the mic.
Thank you very much, Daryl. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today, and I come before you not only as Executive Director of the Governor's Office on Disability, but as one of you. I've had a developmental disability since June of 1982, and I know some of the struggles. Although I was not born with a disability, I acquired a disability in a pivotal point in my life, right after high school, when a young man is taking on the world and has all these different challenges. And I want to tell you a little bit about a few things, but I also want to encourage you. Today is the beginning of a great journey. You're going to learn a lot of information. Use this information to bring about positive change. We are all, as persons with disabilities and family members, we are all ambassadors for each other. And remember that there is a lot of people that are unaware out there, and the impression you make on them may be projected onto other people with disabilities and their families. So be positive all times. Remember, you are ambassadors. Also, again, I want to congratulate Darryl Powell. He's doing great things. I want to congratulate all of his staff, but also want to congratulate each one of you in this room for being here today, and you are going to make some good, positive, meaningful change. And I'd like to get to know each one of you. I know a lot of you, but I don't know everybody here. My friend Dan Kessler there, a great man. Glad to see you here today. But PIPA is all about teaching self-advocacy to people with developmental disabilities and family members. The family members are very important too. I would not be here today without the support of my mother and father, and I'm one of 8 children and my 7 brothers and sisters. So it's very important. Self-advocacy is a learned skill. I can tell you all day about the way I did something, the way I approach people, but you will only learn by doing it yourself. So take all the information you obtain throughout this whole process and apply it to yourself. Put your own unique spin on it, but a positive spin. You notice there's a theme in what I'm saying. Be positive. Now, nobody wants a wine and cheese party when it comes to disability advocacy, okay? So make sure, okay? So, and people, I applaud the people that are laughing at my dry sense of humor, so I'm glad you get some of it. So, but also, you can benefit by working together and networking. That's what PIPA is. It's a network. All the people internationally and nationally and in the state, y'all are now, I was in a fraternity in college, okay, and it was kind of like Animal House on the movie, okay, not that bad, but pretty close. I'm not encouraging that type of fraternity or sorority, but you are in kind of an organization that you will make some lifelong friends here, and they will introduce you to other people in their networks. See, I'm trying to make sure I don't forget some points here. So, again, PIPA is an excellent way to build a network of self-advocates and family members. So you'll notice another theme. I keep saying family members. So that's the way I was taught. When any jury trial that I did, we always had a theme, and we hit that theme so they would remember. The jury, the decision makers would remember it. And we have decision makers, and Representative Isbell is a decision maker and a policy maker, and I was just very glad he came here today and he shared, and he mentioned that about accessible parking. Anybody that knows me know that that's one of my pet peeves, accessible parking. If they would deputize me, I could get it solved in a year, I guarantee you. So we have laws in the books. We can strengthen them. We need to make it easier for the police to enforce. And of course, I'm not just about accessible parking. Like, I'm not just about using this wheelchair, about only certain people use wheelchairs. I know there's many types of visible and invisible disabilities. But you're going to receive training on legislative advocacy. People with disabilities and their families need a visible presence at the State House. If you can't be seen, you won't be heard. And the thing to remember is that if we're not present, we don't have our input. People with disabilities and their families need to be at the table. Always be at the table and be knowledgeable and informed. And I think the legislators and the policymakers like me, and I help create policies, we crave information. We crave input. Please give me input. You know, like the character on Number 5, Still Alive, that I forgot the name of the movie, said Short Circuit. He needed input. I need input just like the dude on Short Circuit. So, but again, there are many powerful lobbying groups in Montgomery. And I'm not saying be a lobbyist because there's negative connotations to that. I'm saying be somebody that's willing to share your story and provide information. And people with disabilities and their families are great problem solvers. Help the legislatures and policymakers solve problems. And you can do that by communicating with them and informing them. So again, need the input. So basically, I wish each of the new members of this PIPA class success as you begin your advocacy journey. You will make a positive difference. You are change agents. You will build relationships to bring about positive change. Thank you.
We thank you for that, Graham, and I hope everyone has realized by now that you're in the right place, because this is it. You know, sometimes you may think that, should I do this? Is it going to be that much work? And guess what? You're in the right place. You're not here by accident, so we do thank you all for trying to be a part and going to be a part. So you've heard everybody speak, so we are excited. I don't know about you, but I'm excited. This has been a hot topic since I've been the director. November 1st, I became the director 2 years, November the 1st. So it has been a hot topic for me. And every week I'm on a call with the National Association. And one of the things that the CEO told me last week, there, anything that we can do to make it happen, make it right, let us know. So everybody that we've talked to, they are on our side. So I have a great speaker here where the Partners in Policymaking originated from, and we've been on the phone for the last, 6, 7 months. The network has been meeting tirelessly to make it happen, and now we are here. So we are excited. I don't know about you, but I know we're going to enhance some lives of the people of Alabama, because that's what it's all about. And oftentimes I say it's not about the council, it's not about ADAP, it's not about USAID, it's about the people of Alabama. So we're going to make things happen. So I'm excited, and I think we may be down to a break now, is it? Okay, we're down to a break, and once we come back, we're going to be in the hands of the originator, Colleen. So take a break, get your snack, use the restroom. Okay, break is right outside the room, so thank you, Holly. So take a break, and we'll get started in a few minutes.